News dump. Huge news today, Mac. We got the reveal of the Deadpool and Wolverine popcorn bucket being served at AMC.
Yeah, it's basically just a Wolverine mask that goes on top of your bucket. Looks like one of those large jumbo buckets, with its mouth wide open so you can fuck it
With its mouth agape.
with a tongue, mind you, as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah. And I want to give them credit because I thought that it was gonna be his beehole.
That would have been too far. See where you see the popcorn things. I don't think they could have gone further than PG-13. That would have been a tough sell out in the lobbies of AMC theaters. But as is, this is going to be a must-have item. I'm never going to use it for popcorn, but it's like it's going to be like a
Mac's gonna use it
perfect.
for fucking.
It's going to be a perfect like little relic to show up. I still wish I had that Optimus Prime one from last year or 2 years ago. I'm fucking pissed I never got that.
That was a good one, but I also think that maybe after Dune 2, I'm kind of over the popcorn bucket.
I don't mind it. Once or twice a year. One of the bigger releases, I'm cool with it because they're like collector's items essentially. And you know me, I got an addiction to collecting things, so I'd love those.
I do know that I really wanted one of the Ghostbusters one that came out this past year, and I asked for it, and they said not until Thursday, and I said, okay, I'm just never going to buy one then. And then
What
no
was
one
the
did. I'm assuming.
what was the Frozen Empire one?
I think it was just like a proton pack with popcorn.
Ah, okay. Yeah, not bad. Not bad at all.
Yeah, not bad, but news dump. Apple Music has released their top 100 albums of all time, and who better to discuss this than two idiots?
Well, to be fair, probably 80% of the list has come out since we've been born. So we're not completely
Since we've been
disqualified from talking about
born, we've heard this music.
I have first of all, they listed The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill by Lauryn Hill at number 1, which I think is fucking insane. That's a fantastic album, an all-time album, but like a top 40 all-time, not top 10, not top 5, not number 1. It is a great album, don't get me wrong. But at number 1, come on. That's like that might be at the back end of a lot of people's favorite albums, but I don't understand the justification of putting it at number 1. The list is littered with all sorts of like nonsense and rationale, like having something in the 80s as opposed to something in the 30s. It's just all over the place.
No, when I saw this, my first question was, what are the rules? Like, what are
Yeah,
we working with here?
yeah.
And even the rules now don't necessarily make that much sense because it's the Apple Music team. So I'm not even sure how many people are on that team, but albums that represented a cultural moment for an artist or genre, albums that thoroughly represent culture in production and lyrics, albums that inspired a generation to want to create more music, and then albums that represent the best in storytelling, musicianship, recording, and production. Also, timeless and reached far beyond the genre categorization.
Yeah, so that's kind of convoluted, and those are a lot of qualifiers, and I guess you have to do that because music is complicated. To me, when you're making a list like this, um, I would be looking for albums that transformed music or albums that the next decade of albums copied because it was
Mhm.
so unique, or albums that introduced something new, a new genre, stuff like that, or albums that defined eras. Like those would have been the things I would have been. It would have been 75% that, and then maybe 25% the ones that I love. Goo, you have your hand raised. Go ahead.
Yeah, I have a question for you, and maybe you don't know the answer to this, but could you have multiple albums on this list?
I think so. I think there are artists that would have warranted multiple albums on the
Well,
list,
that's
maybe
what I'm saying though, is
5 to
that like
10 of them.
if you're the best musicians ever, you most likely have 5 of the top albums of all time. And like
Sure, yeah, so you gotta draw the
I'm
line
not the
somewhere.
biggest but I'm not the biggest Beatles fan, but I will
Mhm.
say that they probably have like 3 or 4 of the best albums of all time. Led Zeppelin probably has 3 of them.
Yeah, they did get the 2 best Beatles albums, I think, which credit to them, or 2 of the top 3 anyways. You gotta draw the line somewhere at 2 or 3 though, I would say. Uh, Here's what
No,
I want
no
to talk
drawing
about though,
lines.
Goo.
If it's the best, it's the best.
That's fair. That's fair enough then. Um, the
What are you, a
one of the major
communist?
things that one of the
Oh,
major things I
communist
noticed
Mac is back.
one of the major things I noticed, I guess not major because it was only like four or five, a handful of instances where they had an artist's album super high, but it felt like it was the wrong album from the artist, which I don't even know how you get that wrong.
It
Like
changed the culture. It changed how people perceived music.
they had Frank Ocean at number 5, right? And
That was
Frank
my
Ocean
big
was
one.
great.
And maybe I'm just ignorant and I'm a fucking idiot or something, but I don't understand how that is the 5th best album of all time.
They had the second best Frank Ocean album, number 5 of all time. Channel Orange, I think, is a better album than that, but I think it's like a top maybe 75, not top 5. That was crazy to me. But Goo, here are some omissions. The biggest omissions to me. These are albums that are simultaneously well, a few of them I don't even really care for, but ones that sort of defined eras or changed music.
Yeah,
I thought the biggest omission was Pearl Jam's 10. That
great album.
is
Yeah.
an iconic punk rock album of the 90s that other than Nirvana sort of defines that genre of music. It's a no skip album, and I'm not even really a Pearl Jam guy. Same thing could be said for Green Day's Dookie Goo. That is the one. Anyone in that genre of music usually points to that album for setting them down that path. It's insane to me that Green Day's Dookie is not on the list. And again, I'm not even a Green Day guy. That what that album represents automatically puts it on a top 100 list.
Max saw this album and said, I myself want to be a piece of shit.
Goo, one that I thought was pretty groundbreaking was Alicia Keys' Songs in A Minor. Came out maybe 2001, 2002. That album is unbelievable and sort of legitimized that or brought that style into the mainstream where you didn't see too many people playing pianos getting on MTV in the 90s. So credit to her. Goo, another one I really enjoyed, and I think it also spawned a lot of copycat bands for better or worse, is Coldplay's A Rush of Blood to the Head. This is actually their second album, not the one with Yellow, but the one with Clocks and the Scientist. I think that album's unbelievable. That was like
Okay.
02 maybe as well. The Killers' Hot Fuss. That's a 10 out of 10 album. That's an automatic top 100. Another one that was like groundbreaking was Justin Timberlake's Future Sex Love Sounds. Obviously, chopped up there by Timbaland. That album is fucking unbelievable. How does that album not make the top 100?
It's a good
You have
album.
Riot by Paramore. Like, how does Paramore not make the list? Babel by Mumford and Sons. They dominated an 8-year period there. Yeah, it gets pretty repetitive, but Babel's an incredible album. That's their second album. Dude, there was a severe lack of pop music on this list. I love pop music. Katy Perry's Teenage Dream has like 7 massive hits off of it. I
Well,
don't
but
know how that doesn't make it.
I think the reason why that one wouldn't be on there, and they made a point of saying, like, we don't care the number of singles that came off the album. It is the story that is told throughout the album. Would that be the reason why?
I don't quite buy into that. I don't know how you.
You don't buy into the rules?
I don't know. Listen, like Katy Perry's not the greatest singer of all time, but I don't think you can tell the history of the last 25 years of music without talking about Katy Perry. Therefore, she's got to be on the list. She ushered in like this sort of new era in pop music in the late 2000s
Where was
there.
Roy Donk on this?
They did get a Gaga album on there, not my favorite one, so I did appreciate that. Also a severe lack of country / blues on the list. Chris Stapleton's Traveler from 2015, unbelievable album, no skip album there. He's also just an incredible artist. One of the more recent ones that I think as time passes will be up there, and the production value on this album is fucking through the roof, is Dua Lipa's Future Nostalgia. Incredible pop dance music album. I don't know how that didn't make the list. Olivia Rodrigo should have been on this list too. I know she's super recent, but you have all these things, all these records she's broken and the things she's passed. She's getting all these T Swift comparisons. Like they had a Taylor Swift album up there, way too high, mind you. There should have been an
It's like
Olivia
19,
Rodrigo
right?
album on there. Yeah, it was in the top 20.
Yeah.
No Bruno Mars. Everything I said about Katy Perry also applies to Bruno Mars. How do you not have Bruno Mars? You could have picked from like 3 albums of his too. Like that. That's mind blowing. And he even has Silk Sonic with Anderson .Paak. That album's incredible. No Eminem, Goo. No Whitney Houston. No Mariah Carey. No The Who. No Aerosmith. No Queen. There's so many misses. And there had to have been a good like 20 records on there I had never heard of. Had no
Now,
fucking clue what they were.
I don't know if I wrote this down or I forgot to write it down or you deleted it, but was the White Stripes on there?
No, they weren't on there. I so the White Stripes are significant. I think you would have a hard time picking between their
Get Behind
first
Me,
3
Satan.
albums.
No, Get Behind Me, Satan's their best.
Yeah.
No,
I
look
think
front to back on that album. It's
I did.
fucking great.
I did earlier. I had a hard time picking
I mean,
a White Stripes album.
Blood Cells is good, that and then Elephant are all very good. And then even Conquest, good too.
I'm not saying White Stripes couldn't have been on there. But I had a hard time picking one. They also put Drake in like the 40s, but Kendrick at like 12, and I didn't. That's not my favorite Kendrick album either. I also think that J. Cole has dominated the 2010s. I don't know how you don't have him on there. You had plenty of other rap and hip hop. No 50 Cent, no Lil Wayne. There's just all these iconic artists that I just don't know how you don't justify getting one of their albums on there.
News dump. The boys are back. Got a trailer
The
for
boys are back.
Wolves.
The
This is
boys.
starring
And
George Clooney and Brad Pitt. They are reuniting for the first time in 16 years for this John Watts movie. Once again, not wolves, but wolves.
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 Um, was their last movie together one of the Soderbergh heist movies, one of the Ocean's movies? I'm guessing.
Yes, maybe. Was it Ocean's
Maybe.
13?
Possibly.
Yeah.
That might be the one. If you don't know John Watts, he has done the 3 Tom Holland MCU Spider-Man movies, so he's obviously now developed the movie making ability for a movie like this. I'm these are 2 of the coolest guys on the planet. I can't
Yeah.
pretend I'm the biggest Clooney guy, but I'm all in on anything Brad Pitt does. So this movie's gonna be
Easily.
pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah, in the movie draft, and we'll have an update on the movie draft maybe next news dump. But I really wanted a Brad Pitt movie in my theater, and I think I took the wrong one because the one that I took is being delayed until next year.
Yeah. Yep. I don't know how much money this one will make, but I think it'll score really well. The premise is that they're both like fixers.
Yeah.
They're guys you
They
call
fix
to
mistakes. Yeah.
clean up a mess. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they both get assigned to the same job by mistake, and then they force them to work together. So it's a fun enough premise.
I think along with our was this movie sexy that we're going to add to our movie draft thing, I think we should add a coolness factor to like if the movie's cool, you get a couple extra points.
Yeah, the freeze pop factor.
News step. Also got a trailer for the new. You didn't write his full name here. It's Yorgos
Lanthimos. I didn't write it
Lanthimos.
because I planned on saying.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, this is the trailer for Kinds of Kindness, starring Emma Stone, Jesse Plemons, Willem Dafoe, and Kaylee Qualley?
Margaret
Qualley. You only
Yeah,
wrote
she's
last
married.
names. I'm sorry. Are we all? is, is this a hockey team?
This actually you have in the movie draft, by the way.
Yeah,
This is
'cause I'm so
the next
smart.
Yorgos Lanthimos movie that you're never going to be able to describe Yorgos Lanthimos movies to someone, but this trailer looks pretty good. And obviously, him and Emma Stone really haven't missed yet. So this is probably going to be real good. This is June 21st.
And then I don't have the name of his next movie, but his next project is also going to star Emma Stone and Jesse Plemons.
There you go.
He found his ticket. He found his Willy Wonka
it's
ticket.
like you might as well keep making them.
News dump. Got a trailer for the biggest YouTube first day release for a Disney / Pixar. I'm definitely messing that up. Disney said something, but they're fudging numbers over there. We got a trailer for Moana 2. This is coming out on November 27th. The live action one will begin filming around that time. And Mac, you ever hear of Maui? He pops up in this.
Yeah, this is more of a teaser, like an initial teaser, because we don't
it's
really
a teaser.
know much. This the first Moana is so good. There's no way
It's
this
so
is going to be
good.
as good. And number 2, they don't have Lin-Manuel Miranda.
I was just
so
going to say that. That's the
it's
one thing that scares me about this movie is that like the first one has like 3 or 4 fucking bangers, like
Yeah.
great songs. I think first off that Moana might be the best Disney movie maybe since like the early aughts or like late 90s. I think it's
I agree.
that good.
Yeah.
Music plays a huge part in that, though, and this teaser doesn't even give a hint to what this is gonna sound like.
Yeah, that's a good point too. We didn't really get much of the music, and that's probably purposeful because they know it's not going to be up to snuff. I we're obviously going to see this movie. I
Yeah.
don't want it to ruin Moana. You know?
Be great if they couldn't get Lin-Manuel Miranda, and then the, Rock is like, "Fine, I'll write the music." They're like, "Oh, shit, we have no one else. Alright, Rock, you can write the music."
By the way, did you see the still of him for the A24 movie that's coming out at the end of this year, where he's like a MMA fighter?
No, but I heard the description of it, and it sounds very interesting. Is The Rock gonna make a comeback?
He looks almost unrecognizable. So I think he's trying to do less The Rock and actually trying
Yep.
to act.
He's doing a little Adam Sandler action here.
He should just have a conversation with Dave Bautista, right? Like, let me in on what you're doing. Let me try some of that.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Stop if it's too personal.
Okay.
Is The Rock a good actor?
No, of course not.
He's just an entertainer?
Yeah, he's just The Rock. It's
Yeah.
like that would like the closest thing, and this maybe makes no sense to anyone. The closest thing I can think about it is he's like a new age Sylvester Stallone. Sylvester Stallone can't act. He's just playing himself.
Sly was but, I guess he played the same character a bunch of times, but he was
Oh,
really
every
good in
time.
Rocky.
He plays as the same
Really good in
character every
Rocky,
time.
though.
And it's he sort so he so all right, let me amend that a little bit. He can play one
Yes.
character. He can play one character. He does it every time. Um, some people might say that about Denzel, but Denzel's character is so good. Fuck you. Um, the Rock can play The Rock, which admittedly is a character that he sort of turned into his whole personality. But that's all he's got. That's all we've seen so far.
He's doing the dice thing.
The best Rock movie, by the way, acting wise, is Walking Tall.
Oh, that's a great one. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
there's yeah, he's just kind of the same every movie.
I think because when he did Walking Tall, he wasn't a megastar yet. That was like his first legit movie. That movie fucking kicks ass.
News Dep. George Lucas had some stuff to say. He was at Cannes, I believe, and got a big old standing ovation. And he was, he's having a time of his life talking about all sorts of things. And
Cause
there
I
was an interview there, and maybe
had
Bruto Official had
time
this,
of
but
my life.
they asked him about Martin
Never
Scorsese's
felt this
Marvel
way
comments.
before.
And then George said, "Look, cinema is the art of moving image." So he just broke out a dictionary and just told you what cinema meant. So if the image moves, that's cinema.
Yeah, I mean, listen, George Lucas is making movies like if you're gonna anything you want to complain about in the Marvel movies is true about the Star Wars movies. So
So
he
here's the thing
has
is
to
that
defend them.
as soon as he said that, he then got into, look, I started using digital film before everyone else, and everyone got mad at me for that. And then
Mhm.
everyone else used it because it was the smart thing to do.
100%. 100%.
Spooky Lukey then defended his prequels, saying that these are supposed to be kids' movies for 12-year-olds that are going through puberty, who don't know what is going on, and they got the big questions. And then, you know what? My movies, these are for kids. And if you're seeing them as an adult, you have this, you assume that these are going to grow up with you, but these are always for 10 and 12-year-olds. The issue that I will argue with him on that with, when you and I saw these movies, these prequels, we were 10 and 12.
Yeah, and they were early before us.
No.
Here's my issue, and you hear this all the time. Yes, those movies are for a target audience of like 8 to 12. However, the best version of those movies also hit for the parents, the adults, people of all ages. So it's a fucking complete cop out to say, well, you're not supposed to like it. That is fucking not true at all. How many Disney movies did our parents love growing up, and how many movies do you show your child now that is made for a 6-year-old
So
that you
not
end up
only
loving
that,
because it's just a great movie?
so the first 3 Star Wars movies really hit it for everyone. And not only those, another movie that he produced, I believe, well, he didn't direct. Spielberg directed the Indiana Jones movies.
Yeah, right. And on top of that, to specifically point out that the prequels are for kids when you had people waiting 15, 20 years for those movies. So they were kids and now they're in their 40s. Like you can't say they're just for kids. It's such a bullshit answer.
He then defended Jar Jar, saying that everyone said the same thing about C3PO. Everyone found him to be irritating and you should get rid of him, which, by the way, they got rid of Jar Jar. They never got rid of C3PO. But, like, in the third one, we had Ewoks. Those are little teddy bears. These are kids' movies. We don't want to see kids' movies. But here's the thing, this is what George said. These are kids' movies.
You and I talk about it with Pixar for the last decade plus now. Like, if you make a movie that's intended for kids, but it misses, who's it for? And you
Mm,
could argue that that whole Star Wars prequels or those three prequel movies are very much like that. Like, I get that there's an intended audience, the one that's gonna make money for the movie, but that doesn't mean it should preclude a 40-year-old man from liking said movie. Like, again, the best children's movies you watch perpetually. You watch them for the rest of your life. You enjoy
yep.
them whether you're 8 or 80. So it's just such a cop out answer to say, "Oh, you're not supposed to like it because it's made for kids."
But he also blames those adults for poisoning the children's minds.
And actually, some of our it's even worse than the Pixar stuff because half the time those Pixar movies, you're like, you know what? I really like that, but I don't think an 8-year-old likes it. Like, so
Yeah.
it's even different from that. So I don't know. I believe me, I understand what he's getting at, and I understand he has to defend them. But it's a bad answer. That is always a bad answer.
News down. Back, I am getting sick of Giancarlo Esposito teasing whatever character he's going to be in the MCU.
Yeah, so reportedly, this is actual news. Well, again, reportedly, so it hasn't been confirmed. He's going to appear in Captain America: Brave World. That comes out in February 2025. That's not all that far away. Um, to your point, we don't know who he's playing. We don't know if it's good or bad. He did tease that he's gonna last longer than that movie, so this is a good thing. But you're right. We've been doing this song and dance with Giancarlo Esposito for like 3 or 4 years now.
Oh, do you want a toiler?
I do. Do the kids at home?
I guess I'm going to have to do it anyways. My son got a Happy Meal from McDonald's the other day,
Mm-hmm.
and in his Happy Meal, he pulled out a little Red Hulk stuffy,
Mm-hmm.
and on the tag, it said Captain America: Brave World, whatever it's called.
Yeah, no, I
Now,
I think
we've always assumed Red Hulk would be in the movie, but it hasn't been confirmed, slash, we haven't seen a trailer with the character yet.
yeah, that's true. I think I had seen. Oh, that might have been for Thunderbolts a leak that he's going to be Red Hulk in that. So yeah, maybe it carries over. I'm not sure if I knew that. Yeah, it's something that we kind of expected more or less.
But the face, I really want it to look just like an old pissed off Harrison Ford.
I'll tell you, he's got a square enough face that I think it'll carry over to the Hulk face pretty well.
News down. Ooh, you wrote this? What is this? Optimus Prime's worth.
You like that one?
No, can you explain it to me?
Go.
Yes.
Apparently, and you and I would know this since we saw the Transformers Beast Wars movie. At the end of that movie, the conclusion, the mid credit included a scene that teased a crossover between the Transformers franchise and the GI Joe franchise. Of course, both owned by Mattel, so they're building out this Mattelverse. And apparently, Chris Hemsworth is in talks to star in that crossover movie. They
So
don't
that would
know
make
how
sense.
or what.
But that would make sense though, because he is voicing Optimus Prime in the animated Transformers 1, is it called?
Yeah, so is he gonna just? I don't think you get Chris Hemsworth for a live action movie just to
No, I'm
voice
saying
Optimus
like
Prime.
he's already worked with them. He's worked with these
Yeah,
people. So it's like an easy, hey, you want to be in the movie, you handsome bastard?
I do like Optimus Prime's worth though. That's credit to me.
Mhm.
Um, I would love to see him in that universe. Although we saw him, so maybe I'll draw that back. We saw him jump over to Men in Black, didn't really
That's
work.
a good point.
So I don't
Ooh.
now maybe I don't know about this.
But he's also Extraction.
He also Men in Black wasn't his fault. So you know what? Fuck that. Doesn't count. I'm back in. Back in.
He wasn't great in it though. Although I will say this, he banged a lot of aliens in it. So
Ooh.
he was good.
All right.
Fun story. One time, I'm not going to say who did this, but we were being
Okay.
pitched as a podcast that could possibly get some sales, bring in some
Mhm.
revenue for the show.
Mhm.
And the podcast that they chose to give to the client was our Men in Black podcast, where I talked about Chris Hemsworth banging aliens for 6 minutes.
Yeah,
We
and I
didn't
hadn't
get any
seen the movie.
sponsorships. Yeah,
And I haven't seen the movie at that point, so you talked for 5 minutes and 50 seconds, and I talked for 10, so it was a real poor representation
it
of
might
what
have
we
been a
could
six
be.
pack, as a matter of fact, but I don't
Oh,
even know.
maybe it was. I don't know
Yeah.
either.
Yeah, it wasn't good though. Michael Bay will be producing this Transformers movie.
I am more and I'm a Transformers guy. I am more intrigued as to how they involve the G.I. Joe stuff with the Transformers stuff.
And Rihanna, right? Rihanna was in the G.I. Joe
Cool.
movie.
No,
Was she?
she
Oh,
was in the
Battleships.
Battleship, the other toy movie.
Battleships was a real movie, right?
Yeah, it had what's
Josh
his
Hartnett.
face in it
No,
too.
Joseph Gordon-Levitt. John.
No, Joseph Gordon-Levitt was the bad guy in G.I. Joe.
Whoops.
You're thinking of Pearl Harbor for Josh Hartnett,
I'm thinking of Pearl
which
Harbor.
did involve several ships sinking.
News dump. Mac, we got a description, a sexy, gross description for Nosferatu. This is the Robert Eggers movie that is coming out. And Bill Skarsgård, who we thought it was going to be a huge year for him, but this might be a year of stinkers. We'll see. So why are you laughing at me?
You connecting Pearl Harbor and Battleship is just too perfect.
But Bill Skarsgård, he described his character, Count Orlok from Nosferatu, as he's gross, but very sexualized.
Cuba Gooding Jr., Josh Hartnett, Ben Affleck in the Battleship. It's not true.
Any thoughts on Nosferatu? Do you want to use this tagline for your Tinder bio?
I got nothing. I've gotten nothing. I could say, yeah, I could go. I'm gross, but I'm sexualized. I could do that for
Gross
Tinder.
but sexualized. News dump. I bet that movie's good, by the way. It is a bit of like, during the draft, we talked about how there's like 4 Bill Skarsgård movies coming out this year. It could be a big year
Yeah,
for Bill.
he's 0 for 2
Not
so
a
far.
Yep, and we still have The Crow, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yep.
Glen Powell did an interview with GQ, Mac.
A lot of good nuggets in here, Goo. This first one is I think pretty good and something we could maybe talk about in the future before we get Batman casting news in James Gunn's universe. Glen Powell says he doesn't have much interest in playing a superhero, but he would maybe like to play Batman, and his take on it would be more in the Keaton realm and less of the Pattinson realm. So he would like to do a bit of a campy Batman, which I get because he's a great looking lad and he's humorous, as we've seen. So I think I don't know if that fits. Well, actually, that might fit
I don't think he
perfectly for
fits.
James Gunn.
I don't think he fits age-wise for what they would need for Brave and the Bold, though.
Yeah, you might be right about that.
But also,
I'm intrigued by him as Batman, though.
I forget which publication did it, but they did the 10 young actors that are like the actors that all the directors want to work with, and young was the main thing, and it listed 10 actors, and then also had Glen Powell in there, who's 35. That's not young.
He could play 24 though. He could pull off 24. He's
I don't
that
know
good
24
looking.
because Austin Butler was also in there. Butler's 32.
Is Butler 32? Wow.
Yeah.
So those are just new actors is really what they meant. New-ish. By the way, speaking of Battleship's Josh Hartnett, Glen Powell said he was up for that Hartnett role in Oppenheimer. He ultimately didn't get it, lost to Josh Hartnett, but he's hoping to work with Nolan soon in on that collab as well.
Also, I would like to work with Nolan soon too.
A final tidbit here, and this is more of a Tom Cruise thing. Obviously, he was in Top Gun Maverick with Tom Cruise. He said Tom Cruise has a 6-hour film school movie that he only shows to his friends. And he said one of the examples while the film is playing, Cruise is like, do we all agree that this is what a camera is, right? This is the difference between a film camera and a digital camera. So Tom Cruise is just an absolute nerd when it comes to cinema in the best way.
I would you be honored or disappointed that you were Tom Cruise's friend?
I feel like he wants everyone to be his friend, so I wouldn't read too much into it if he's showing you the film school movie.
What if he's taking you on a helicopter ride and he's pretending to crash it? That was another story that Powell told too, is that Cruise picked him up in the helicopter and then pretended like it was going down. He's like, News down. We now know Christopher Lord and Phil Miller. Dude, you got to give me
Phil
full
Lord.
names.
Phil Lord, Christopher Miller.
I am all over the place with my names tonight, so it's my dyslexia. But we know what their next movie is going to be.
Yeah, it's called Project Hail Mary, which I have no idea what that's going to be about. But it's going to star Ryan Gosling alongside Sandra Hüller. Hüller is the woman who was in both Anatomy of a Fall and Zone of Interest, 2 Best Picture nominees from this past year. So obviously she's on the up and up. I think she's a German actress originally, so good for her. And we're always in on Lord and Miller things. And apparently, Gosling's his character will be a man that wakes up from a coma, afflicted with amnesia, and soon remembers he was sent 12 light years away from Earth to save humanity. So it's going to be sci-fi. So that's interesting.
Silly sci-fi? Silly? Because it's Lord and Miller.
You would think. Yeah, you would
You'd
think.
hope.
Maybe they're going to use some of the concepts from their Forbidden Solo movie in this movie.
News down. We've got some news for the Rian Johnson Knives Out 3 movie, Mac. You don't have to speak if you don't want to. This is going to be called Wake Up Dead Man. The font was all the Chicago White Sox City Connect jersey. This is coming to Netflix in 2025. This will star Daniel Craig, Kerry Washington, Josh O'Connor, Kaylee Spaney, Andrew Scott, Glenn Close, and they have recently added Jeremy Renner and Mila Kunis.
If Rian Johnson just apologizes one day, I'll forgive him. He's never going to, though.
He is never going to apologize.
That's all it takes, Ryan. Just apologize. Because I kind of want to watch these movies, but I can't because of you.
I believe that he will never apologize for it.
I hope he does one day. I hope he does.
That's never going to happen.
If he's ever at a Comic-Con we're attending, I'm going to get the mic. I'm going to stand in line and wait and ask him to apologize for The Last Jedi. Demand an apology.
You know what he's going to say? Shove it up your ass.
Fuck out of here.
I was going to say shove it up your ass, kid, but then I looked at you. I'm like, you are not a kid. News down. And then finally, we are getting the Acolyte. 2 episodes?
I believe so.
Okay, start next week, and that has lightsabers.
Yeah, on Goose Day. And I've only read one tweet review about it, which was a real positive one, but you never know with Star Wars.
Was it that nerd that always gives positive thoughts and takes?
I don't remember who it was.
There's like 2 or 3 guys that I feel like they're fed exactly what to say by the studios.
Yeah, no doubt.
And you read them and you say, oh, that's good. And then you look at the handle and say, oh, no.
I'm very much looking forward to this. I think you and I will do a Star Wars themed episode for next Goose Day in celebration of the Acolyte.
I'm thinking that we blend 3 top 10s.
Okay, maybe we could do that.
One of them will be lightsaber duels.
We could also just review one of the original movies. That's not a bad play either.
I'd do that too. That's fine. Yeah. Which one? Keep in mind the first one's boring.
Yeah, but if we're going to review all 3 at some point, we should probably do the first one, right? Or do you want to do Empire?
We can do the first one. Or do you just want to do Attack of the Clones?
I don't want to do Attack of the Clones. I don't.
Not for 3 more years. That's a rule. I don't know. It's up to you. If you want to do one of the movies, how about you guys tweet at us? Let us know if you want us to do a full movie or if you just want us to do a blended top 10, because I wouldn't mind doing lightsaber duels. Lightsaber duels part 2 and then lightsaber duels parts 3.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
All right. So check us out then. News dump.